From the Ontario Motor Speedway, welcome to the 13th Annual World Finals of Drag Racing, the most dynamic display of automotive rolling thunder on Earth. It's head-to-head, one-on-one competition in three major categories you're watching here at the end of the day from the Ontario Motor Speedway's quarter mile. And in those categories, first it's the pro stockers. Those are the very twitchy, short wheelbase, highly unpredictable machines. It'll be Indiana's Bob Glidden versus Atlanta, Georgia's 50-year-old dyno Don Nicholson. Next come the ultimate family fantasy flivver. These are the funny cars, capable of over 230 miles per hour, and the competitors will be Gordy Bonnet of Canada and the many-time world champion, the Snake, Don Prudhomme. Finally, the heavyweights. The top fuel dragsters will be driven after a day of upsets by Dennis Baca of the United States and Graham Light of Canada. I'm Ken Squire here in the starting line area, and down at the finish line, that's the area for Brock Yates.
Thank you, Ken. You know, the really unique thing about big-time professional drag racing is the fact that these drivers, although they compete over a distance little more than a long city block in length, generate more pure emotion than a lot of the drivers that compete in the Indianapolis 500 or in a major Grand National stock car race. Down here at this end of the racetrack, beyond the finish line, we'll get a chance to see the cars running really quickly. They attain their highest speeds down here, and of course they're at the most unstable state. Pretty dangerous. We're going to try to talk to some of the winners and the losers. We're not exactly sure what they're going to say, but I'll guarantee you one thing. Amidst the tears and the cheers, we're going to be able to tell who won and who lost.
Make no mistake about it. Although it starts and ends in a hurry, it is as dangerous as any form of motorsport there is. Take a look at this. This is Southwest champion from the Magnificent 7, Division 7, Rance McDaniel of Fresno, California, about 215 miles per hour here, and he detonates the engine. The big V8 coming unglued, and he has 2,000 horsepower strapped to his back that's about to become an inferno. Brock?
Ken, this looks very dangerous, but fortunately it's not as bad as it might have been. In the old days, these engines were up front, in front of the driver, and in that case, McDaniel would have been sitting in a barbecue pit right now. But despite how spectacular the blaze looks, he's relatively safe.
Now let's talk about what can stop this machine with that kind of problem.
Okay, if the engine explodes, it could blow out one or both of the rear tires. That's trouble. Also, he's having trouble getting the chute deployed, and he only has brakes on the rear wheel, and he's going to have some trouble getting this thing stopped.
Well, he was able to get it stopped down in the first turn area of this Ontario Motor Speedway. We're just about set now. Rance McDaniel's all right after this hazardous moment in qualifying. We're ready now for the pro stockers. Well, here they are, the world finalists and pro stockers at the Ontario Motor Speedway. On my right from Indiana, Bob Glidden. On my left is dyno Don Nicholson out of Atlanta, Georgia. Have you two faced each other before this year, Bob Glidden?
Yes, we met in the finals at Indianapolis.
And how did that come out?
I won that one.
You won that one. Are you ready to try and get him again today?
Yeah, I hope I got a surprise for him. We just put a new engine in, and I hope it'll run better than we've been running.
Now, because of low ET, you can choose the lane you want. Which lane will you elect?
I'm not going to tell him that until we come up the stage.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I guess all I get is what's left over.
All right, here we are, ready for the World Finals among the top men in pro stockers. 1,320 feet to decide it all in the World Finals. dyno Don Nicholson in a Mustang. And this is his adversary pulling up on the outside lane, Joe Satmary from a qualifying round. Let's see how Nicholson made it to the final. Satmary, Hammond, Indiana, Camaro, and there's Nicholson, the driver out of Atlanta, Georgia. Countdown. Staged. Don. And Nicholson immediately shows his weight right out in front. Pretty much stock automobiles, but capable of developing 600 horsepower. Second round. Manchester, Division 1, Northeast champion from Westport, Massachusetts, is up against Nicholson. These were the quarterfinals now. Nicholson on the outside lane, Manchester on the inside lane. Ronnie Manchester comes off the line just a tad quicker than Nicholson, but he is overhauled, and Nicholson just shoves this car away from Manchester to win the quarterfinals with a speed of 156 miles per hour. Semi-final round. Frank Iaconio of New Jersey on the outside, closest to the camera. Nicholson, this is it to make it into the championship. On the start, Iaconio out in front. But coming up around is Nicholson. And watch this head-to-head battle that saw Nicholson win by a matter of feet when they went through the eyes. Again in slow motion. Iaconio on the far side, closest to the camera. Nicholson makes his charge. How about that, Brock?
This is unbelievable, Ken. Dino Don looks like he's headed for the trailer. He just looks like he's a loser until the very last few feet. That's a display of raw top-end horsepower and a lot of poise from this veteran.
So there he is going back to make some last-moment adjustments before the grand finale. And now let's take a look at how Bob Glidden made it into the finals. The Whiteland, Indiana campaigner faced first among the top 16 Richie Zool of Arlington, Texas, and Amanza. As you can see, he finished 7th in the world standings a year ago. Staging area and ready for competition. Ready for the start. First round eliminations among the world's top 16 of pro stockers. And out in front and just pulling away is Bob Glidden. Glidden in a Ford Pinto hitting 157 miles per hour. Quarterfinals. And this is Larry Lombardo, defending world champion out of Melbourne, Pennsylvania. Glidden versus Lombardo. And it's almost no contest, as it looked like Lombardo was off to a great start, but back came Glidden to win the quarterfinals. 157 miles per hour, and he had to deploy the chute to bring her down. A lot of comfort behind.
This again is just an example of big horsepower down there in the eyes at the end of the quarter mile where it really counts, Ken, and obviously Glidden and Nicholson have it.
This was the semifinal round. It was Ewell of Reno, Nevada outside, briefly in front. Then Glidden makes his move. He's up the out on the inside, goes out in front, and he wins. Ewell's Camaro eliminated as Bob Glidden reaches 157 miles per hour, 8 and 59 100ths of a second. Watch again in slow motion here. Nearest to the camera, that is Bob Glidden of Whiteland, Indiana, his Ford Pinto just charging out in front and taking command. So now we're ready. This is it, the grand finale in Pro Stockers for this year. Up to the line, Nicholson and Glidden, and as we look at it here, and move around that water, we're not allowed to use anything but water to heat up those tires. Back into it. Get set, there's the Glidden machine. Bob Glidden, Ford Pinto, remember 600 horsepower, they run on gasoline. Gets those tires as sticky as he can on what is considered one of the fastest drag strips in the world, if not the fastest, here at Ontario, California. Okay, you pays your money, you take your chance here. It's Nicholson versus Glidden, World Finals Pro Stockers from Ontario, California. This is the car of Bob Glidden. Away into competition in the grand finale. It is Glidden out in front of Nicholson. Glidden on the far side is pulling away. He's going to win this by over a car length. Bob Glidden wins in the World Finals for Pro Stockers here in California. A tremendous run for the Whiteland, Indiana campaigner in his Ford Pinto, defeating Nicholson in a Mustang. Let's watch again at the start. Almost no question from the very beginning. Glidden getting out in front, getting through the gears, and coming to the line to win by just about 1.5 car lengths. Here's Brock with a winner.
Congratulations, Bob.
Thank you.
Made it look easy, huh?
It wasn't easy, but
The old man's hard to beat anytime, isn't he?
He definitely is. He is really doing a fine job for a 50-year-old man. So he is.
Let's hope we all do that when we get there. How did it run? Tell me exactly how it ran all the way down.
Well, we knew that when the air cooled down, we'd run a little bit better. I'm sure Dino ran good, too. But I don't know exactly what we ran, but I'm sure it's our best numbers yet.
Yeah, you did. I think it's low ET, unofficially. Tell me about the run specifically, from start to the beginning and carry me down the racetrack.
Well, there was none of this psych on the starting line deal. Dino really didn't know what lane I was going to take. We decided to take the left lane, thinking it was a little better. I went ahead and staged first because there has been a lot of burn downs this year on the starting line, and apparently we left on a good light. The car hooked real good, and it was an excellent run. You know, it was just a good straight run.
Congratulations, Bob Glidden.
Bob Glidden wins in the World Finals for the Pro Stockers. Here they come, the ultimate fantasy cars. And the man to beat is this man here, Don the Snake Prudhomme. Here at the 13th Annual World Finals of Drag Racing in Ontario, California, you're watching Bill Shrewsbury make this Dodge Dart stand on its hind legs and bark at about 116 miles per hour. one of the extra attractions here today, along with these 3 great final races of the year. Right now, Brock Yates is standing by with one of the competitors we're about to see in funny car competition, the 3-time world champion Don Prudhomme.
Don Prudhomme, this has got to be kind of a strange afternoon for you. 3 absolutely perfect, identical runs at 6:06, and yet no real competition. 2 singles and a man that broke. What does that do for you going into the finals?
Well, it's okay with me. Of course, you know, we'll accept any way we can get it. Our car's been run real consistent, and the main thing is that the track is in such good condition, and our car is too, until we just run it the same every round, and that's what it runs, and drive it the same. So it isn't really that difficult right now. But of course, going into the last round with Bonin, we'll have to see.
Let's follow how Don Prudhomme made it to the grand finale today in this funny car world final. His first opponent, John Lombardo, had trouble, did not come off the line. And notice how Prudhomme just keeps going for quickest elapsed time, so he'll have the choice of lane in the next round, which would be the quarterfinals. That put him up against Trip Shoemake of Phoenix, Arizona. But notice, Shoemake's machine also had mechanical malfunctions and had to roll away from the line. Once again, a solo performance for Don Prudhomme. The Snake striking at 6 6/100ths of a second for the quarter mile. Then came the semifinal round against Jim Adolph, Selmore, California. The Snake coiled a strike in his Plymouth against another Plymouth driven by Jim Adolph. He's been out of competition about a year. This was the semifinal. Lurching toward speed, Adolph's car seems to be smoking the tires and then comes up with a box of neutrals, and Don Prudhomme is into the grand finale. 3 straight runs at 6:06 for Don Prudhomme. His opponent in this grand finale will be Gordy Bonin of Edmonton, Alberta. Brock spoke with him.
What do you do against a guy like Prudhomme? You know that he's hard to psych, he's ultra cool. I know you are as well. Are you going to go up to the line and do anything that you might not do with somebody else?
No, I'm just going to try to run my own race. He's you can't psych him. He's the best, and we're trying hard to be number 1, and it'll be another year or 2 anyway, because he's just, let's face it, he's the best. We're going to just go up and run our own race.
Let's follow the path of young Gordy Bonin in this Pontiac into the finale of this funny car world finals. His first run was against Bob Pickett of Granada Hills, California, in the Mickey Thompson Oldsmobile. And right at the start, Pickett had trouble and had to roll away from the line. Mechanical problems, but going for as good an elapsed time as possible was young Gordy Bonin of Edmonton, Alberta.
6:19, not quick enough to catch the Snake, Ken.
Back came the Thompson automobile, 1,900-pound fiberglass body, which lifts up with relative ease to discover what went wrong with Pickett's effort. Now we're looking at the quarterfinals. The competitor for Bonin is Gary Bergen, former national champion. He had low ET, elapsed time of 6 4/100 seconds. Burnout on Bonin's car, getting those tires just as sticky as possible and cleaning off any residue from coming up to the line.
Look at that bounce, Ken. That's just a question of the big, soft, low-pressure tires at the back. Only about 4 or 5 pounds per square inch tire pressure.
Now watch in slow motion as Bonin came up to that line and got this burnout underway. They use water now. They used to use bleach, but only water is allowed according to NHRA rules at this time.
Very hot inside those cars. Very, very difficult to drive. Very twitchy, very treacherous automobiles.
Funny car competition. This was the quarter-final round. Bonin versus Bergen. Using that handbrake, burping that engine, cackling. This is Bonin coming to the line, closest to the camera. Gary Bergen on the outside lane.
What a peak of emotion is building inside those 2 cars now. This is an incredible moment for these men.
World Finals underway, quarter-final round. You can see the winner is Bonin, as there were problems all over the place for Gary Bergen. First he had some tire spin about 200 or 300 feet out from the tree, the Christmas tree starting light, and then at the end he unhinged an engine.
Yeah, he got a little sideways coming down here about the 8th mile mark. There he is, just a little bit. He may have gotten back out of it and then had to get back on the throttle again, and then something broke down here near the end. So he was in trouble all the way.
Bonin by 2.5 car lengths. Semi-final round. This is TV Tommy Ivo of Burbank, California, a quarter century in drag racing. this has been his best performance in 25 years.
What a story for Tommy Ivo. Been in this business, probably made more runs in drag racing than any man alive. And yet, he's never won a major title. This is his closest try at a victory. And you know this is a big moment for him.
This was the semifinal round for a guy who started as a child actor at the age of 4. And his car acted up right at the start, and Bonin was away to win in the semifinal round and qualify himself to run against the 3-time world champion, the Snake, Don Prudhomme. There's Bonin's crew elated about seeing him in the